Hey guys, welcome back to Minecraft The Lost Journals. Today we're reading chapter 21, which is titled More Breaking and Entering. Starts on page 190 and goes to page 203. If you guys have enjoyed this novel so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Minecraft The Lost Journals. Without further ado, chapter 21. Allison had thought Freya resided in the most amazing and complex fortress she'd ever seen, and now it may as well have been a shack. The fortress they suspected was Nicholas was built atop 13 pillars of netherrack. Suspended over a lake of lava, the base was wide and fortified with an obsidian wall, but they could see the upper floors peeping out from behind the wall. It spread out like a plant in the overworld, with incomprehensible towers jutting up from flat rooftops, balconies overlooking the lava lake, and what appeared to be a greenhouse on the left side, which made little sense with no sun. It was probably well lit by the lava fall that cascaded down a cliff farther to the left, actually. Just in case the skeletons and hopping magma cubes patrolling the shore of Lava Lake didn't deter for you from investigating the bridge. Going to the fortress is made of blocks, obsidians ascending to the base of the fortress. Each step was one solid block. No railing, no stairs to make climbing easier. That would have to jump up each one and hope they didn't fall into the lava. They stood well away from the fortress, where the mobs by the lake wouldn't notice them. Allison gazed at the walkway to the base. She was feeling much better, but her legs still felt shaky. I'm really tired of lakes and fire, she said. Does this place have anything else? How about a friendly garden or an unfriendly garden? I'd give anything for a spider infested forest right now. It's the nether, Allison, not a snow biome, Freya said. We have two kinds of landscape here, lava and not lava. You have mushroom plots too, Max suggested, polishing the very unenchanted but much stronger diamond sword with his back to them. And soul sand. Now that's now that Allison was feeling better, she noticed that Max was looking decently different. Why are you wearing that armor, Max? Did the diamond already break and I didn't notice? He turned around, not meeting her eyes. I found this in Uncle Nicholas's treehouse in the crystal. I thought it was enchanted. It, it was enchanted. Cursed, really. Alice's mouth fell open. You mean every piece of armor you're now wearing is cursed? And you took off the solid diamond armor to wear leather armor that you can't remove? He flushed. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. I'm stupid. I should have grabbed the milk and come back to you guys. Anything you were going to say to me, I've thought about it already, believe me, but there's nothing I can do about it. Maybe I'm cursed with this stuff forever, he shrugged, uncomfortable. Allison smiled sadly. You're not stupid. That armor is a connection with your uncle. I think I'd grab any connection to my family right about now, even one of my mother's garnish banners, even an enchanted terrible banner. We'll get that off you somehow. Just, be careful. It could be a good opener for a conversation when we find him, Freya suggested. Hey, Uncle, guess what? You didn't kill me. But oh yeah, I'm stuck in this awful armor you made. Can you help out? Max surprised himself by laughing alongside Allison and Freya, trying to imagine Nicholas's face when he told him he was here to rescue him. And, by the way, he also was wearing a full suit of cursed armor. Allison sobered. I'm not sure there's anything we, or even your uncle, can do, though that's why it's a curse. It's on you until it's destroyed. He grimaced. Anything that destroys the armor is likely to kill me soon after it falls off. Right? He asked. Probably, Freya said, nodding. We could just dip parts of you in the lava until the armor burns away, and then pull you out really fast, that might work. Allison had an image of holding Max by his feet over a lava pit, trying to burn off the cursed diamond helmet, and shuddered. There had to be a better way. Freya crossed her arms and focused on the skeletons. I've been trying something with Bunny Biter, she said thoughtfully. I think it might help us out a lot. She gave the wolf a pat, waking her up. She'd been sleepy since her adventure with the pigmen and the blades, and Allison suspected she had a very full stomach. Bunny Biter looked up with an inquisitive whine. Bunny Biter, Freya said in a commanding voice. The wolf jumped to her feet, alert. Sick tibia! The wolf was off in a flash, heading for the skeletons. They'll tear her to pieces. She can't take them all on, Allison said. Relax. If all goes south, then we run in and help, Freya said. Allison fumbled for her bow. It would have been nice to know they were about to fight. She was still trying to figure out how to get the cursed armor off Max. She knocked an arrow away and aimed at the mobs. The white wolf was still running at full speed, heading for the nearest skeleton. It noticed her and tried to back away, but the wolf was closing in fast. The other skeletons noticed the combination and started clacking away from Bunny Biter. Freya, this was a bad idea, Max said, raising his sword, but Freya put a hand on his shoulder. Just give her a minute, she said, watching intently. The wolf reached her prey, but she didn't leap and attack. She started in low and clamped her powerful jaws around the skeleton's lower leg bone and yanked. The startled menace flailed as it fell backward, taking another skeleton down with it. Bunny Biter shook her head once, snapping the leg off, and then ran off, the bony foot flopping on the end of the leg as she ran. The other skeletons followed this new, strange threat at a safe distance, shooting off the occasional projectile at her, while the D-legged one rolled around, trying to get up and failing. Freya almost leisurely put a few arrows into it, and it disappeared, leaving behind a bow and a bone. Will she be okay? Allison asked, watching the wolf lead the skeletons away. She's faster than they are. If she gets hurt, she can eat the leg she's carrying. She'll be fine, Freya said. Come on. She and Allison started forward. Max heard a whistling in the sky and grabbed both girls' arms and pulled them backward. Thud! A very large cube, black with red eyes and radiating more heat than even the surrounding area, landed where they had just been standing. Scatter! Freya cried and took off away from the lava lake. Max and Allison followed. What is that? Allison yelled. Freya looked back at her with wide eyes open. It's a magma cube, and don't run with me. Scatter! Without warning, she cut to the right, running in a completely different direction. Allison chanced to look backward, but didn't see the menacing cube anymore. She slowed, which probably saved her, because the cube landed in front of her with another thud, throwing her off her feet with the force of its landing. She hit the ground and rolled, the heat of the monster wafting in waves. She really didn't want that thing touching her. Why can't we meet anyone nice? She yelled, climbing to her feet. The cube launched itself into the air again, and she watched the trajectory, then ran forward, passing under it so that it landed behind her. Max appeared by her side, holding his sword. You okay? He asked, his eyes on the cube. We need to split up, Allison said. That thing will crush you without good armor. Don't get under it. She dashed off in a new direction, pulling her bow from her pack and hoping Max took her advice. These things look like slimes, Max said, crossing her path to run the other way. He kept talking over his shoulder. Fire slimes, anyway. I bet they'll break apart like slimes. Allison ran for a few moments and then heard Max whoop in triumph. She risked slowing down and looking for him. The cube was gone. Around Max now were 4 smaller cubes. They looked just as scary, but more manageable even with their greater number. It worked! Max yelled as the group of cubes split up. Two of them came for Allison. One hopped tentatively toward Freya after spying the spot she had taken on a hill to get a better shot with her bow, and the last one jumped toward Max as he swung his sword at it. Keep it up. They'll keep breaking down, Freya called, raising her bow for a shot. Stay alert. Who's falling asleep? Max asked, swinging again and catching the cube in the mid jump. This sword didn't have a knockback enchantment, but it was clearly a much better weapon. It slashed right into the cube and then knocked it sideways. He hadn't split it fully, and now it was bouncing and heading for him again. Allison's bow was just a plain old bow. Diamond could do nothing to make that better. So she shot an arrow at the closest cube, hitting the right spot, but the arrow bounced off the cube's tough crust. If she couldn't pierce it with an arrow, how was she going to fight it? Freya was stronger than she was, and the cube pursuing her had several arrows sticking out of it. With one more, it shuddered, bounced backward, and then separated into four tiny cubes. Allison didn't have time to watch them and figure out how they could fight the tiny ones, but Freya didn't look so concerned now. Max was running toward Allison, but the two cubes heading for her were way ahead of him. She thought fast and pulled her pickaxe from her pack. She quickly dug a hole in a few blocks wide and 2 deep, and then stood in front of it. Come on, take the bait. I'm just standing here, begging to be squashed by you, she smuttered. Both cubes leaped again, sailing toward her as they fell. She jumped away at the last moment. It worked, partly. One of the cubes fell into the pit behind her. The other one got lucky and landed on the edge of the pit right beside her. It glared at her, trembling. Allison realized it was getting ready to jump again, so she kicked it with her diamond boot. It fell into the pit, colliding in midair with the other cube as it tried to jump out. They both tumbled, and hit the ground inside the pit, and Allison leaped forward with another rat cubes at the ready. With one quick motion, she filled the hole, trapping them before they could jump out. She could hear their frantic thumps as they jumped and hit the ceiling of the chamber she had created. She threw a few more netherrack blocks on top, just to make sure they would stay in there, then stood back and sighed in relief. Freya was stomping on any tiny magma cubes, but Max was ignoring the ones she had created. Allison raised an eyebrow and pointed at the tiny bouncing fire cubes, trying desperately to follow Max. Are you going to clean up your mess? I was going to ask if someone without cursed boots would help me out here, he said. I don't think it's a good idea for me to go around stomping on magma. Oh, Allison ran forward to finish stomping at the mobs. Her enchanted diamond boots didn't even register the heat she was stepping on. Once more she worried about Max fighting in cursed armor. How long would he be forced to wear this? And would he survive if it fell off in the middle of a fight? Freya joined them and looked around. The area near the fortress was quiet for the moment. It's clear. Let's go. In the other buildings they had explored, Max and Allison had found all the crafting and enchanting areas inside or basement rooms, almost as if Nicholas and whoever had occupied Freya's fortress before she did wanted to keep the crafting and enchanting a secret. This place, though, put creation front and center. The room that, in another fortress, would have been a ballroom or a great dining hall was the crafting room, with furnaces, crafting tables, and the usual run of creation blocks they were now used to. They opened a few of the chests, which were much emptier than those in the previous places they visited, which was disappointing. Although they did find a few blocks of obsidian in one. Not enough to make a portal, Max said. Maybe he's off looking for more so he can come back and finish it. We don't know for sure. This is your uncle's fortress, Freya reminded him, looking around the room. This could belong to someone else, or your uncle is somewhere in the building. We haven't looked through the whole thing. Maybe he got hungry. He could just be in the kitchen eating some ender steaks. Is that a thing? Allison asked. Freya looked at her pointedly. It should be, she said. Allie turned slightly green and dropped the topic. She left the room, muttering something about checking the rest of the wing of the house, and returned shortly, saying that no one was in the kitchen, but she was happy to report a few cauldrons of fresh water. She looked less green and more refreshed. They went through the remaining chests, although no one donned any of the few pieces of armor they found, with Max's cursed items as their example of the consequences of being too eager with loot. Two chests did not hold much more exotic provisions than the others. Supplies Max and Allison had never seen before, like boiling tears, small living flames, and the creepiest thing Max had ever seen. Allison opened one chest and jumped back with a yell. She edged closer and peeked inside. Freya and Max coming up to behind her. A huge green eye peered out from the chest at her, looking around the room, focusing on Allison, and then checking out the room again. What is that? She asked. Freya looked in the chest and then at Allison. It's an eye, she said slowly. Allison glared at her. Fine. Then what is a giant green eye doing? No, wait. Freya would tell her the eye was just looking around. She rephrased the question. Why is there a giant green eye in this chest? And what is it used for? Freya grinned at her, looking as if she wanted nothing more than to take Allison literally all day. But they didn't really have that kind of time, so Max spoke. I've heard of magical eyes that can find strongholds in the overworld. I don't know if this is one of those, or if it can do that down here. Well, since we're in a fortress, it would find the one we're in and call its job done, wouldn't it? Freya asked. She peered over Allison's shoulder. Is that all that's in there? There are three of them, and that's it, Allison said, frowning in disgust and stepping back. Let's look in the other chest. I don't want anything to do with those things. They found several books and enchanting tables. Freya and Allison glanced at Max, and then at their as yet unenchanted equipment. Max looked up eagerly. I'm game to try it if you are, he said. Freya shook her head. We've got too much cursed armor already. Experimenting now will just cause more pain and suffering. I need to practice if I'm going to get better, he grumbled. He wandered down the rows of bookshelves as he sulked, trailing his hands as long as the spines of the books. All right, we've got ourselves a fortress. We need a missing uncle. And then we keep looking for a portal or more obsidian. Want to guess where the uncle might be? Freya asked, walking to the window of a tower room where they had discovered three enticing looking beds, or death traps, as Freya called them, considering that sleeping in a bed in another would cause deadly explosions. These beds were an insult to their backs, which were sore from sleeping on the ground. Max suddenly realized he would gladly take any punishment his mother wanted to dish out to him if he could just sleep in his own bed again. His homesickness hit with an unexpected punch, and he wondered how his mom was dealing with their absence. How long had they been gone, anyway? She must be so worried she'll never let me leave the house again, he sighed, his breath shaky. They'd get through this. They had to. He had to get home. Allison looked at the beds with the same longing as Max. She tore her eyes away from their deceptive welcome and joined Freya at the window. Well, we could stay here and wait for him to come back. Maybe he was waiting on someone. Some wolf, Freya corrected. Wolf, right. He was waiting for the monsters to go away. Regardless, Allison said, speaking of which, where is that wolf? She'll be back at some point, Freya said, but her focus on the outside landscape showed her concern. We should go out and look for Nicholas, Max said. I can't stay cooped up in here waiting for him. He has a good point, Allison said thoughtfully. Then again, if you're out there fighting while wearing cursed armor, that's not very good protection. I'll be careful, he said. You're not 100% better yet, It doesn't make sense for you to go and me to stay. And if we all go, with our luck, we'll leave and he'll come back here. Or we'll stay here and he'll be out there, dying of a wither cut or drowning in lava or something. Then we split up, Freya said. Allison stays here and waits. You and I go out and make sure the path to the fortress is clear. Her eyes almost gleamed in the low light. I'm game to stay here. There's plenty to read. But how can you go looking for a fight right now? Allison asked, sounding wary. Freya shrugged. It's all I do. Hunt mobs, find food. You guys showing up has given me the most variety of the past several months, honestly. And the three of us are still hunting mobs. Max brushed off his cursed armor. Let's do it, he said. Then, can, then we can find your wolf when we go out. There's a bonus, Freya agreed, but Max could tell she was relieved to not leave Bunny Biter out there on her own. They helped Allison set up torches throughout the hallways and rooms she thought she would be using while they were gone, lighting the areas to avoid attracting monsters, and then check their equipment and supplies. You got some good stuff at your uncle's, Freya said, going through his inventory. Healing potions, protective potions, more milk. I wonder why he didn't take this with him. I think he left in a hurry, Max said. He also left a few journals behind, but hopefully we can ask him when we find him. Come on, the day isn't getting any longer. Actually, it's always day here, Freya said, so it's not getting any shorter either. But I'm ready. She slung her pack over her shoulder. Allison waved at them from her place at a crafting table, where she was engrossed in a book. Be careful out there. This book says there are some pretty nasty mobs. What are you reading? Max leaned in close, peering at the cover. A journal by Lasodia. What kind of name is that? Max asked. Are you telling me there are things out there nastier than what we've already met? Allison shrugged and didn't look up from the book. Anyway, don't burn down the place while we're gone, he added. She grinned up at him. Max and Freya closed the fortress door behind them and looked over the red landscape. Max was getting tired of this scene. Always low light, always red and heat shimmery. On the horizon, a few skeletons pursued them. Their weapons raised, Max pointed. I think that's a good place to start, as any. Freya checked her arrow supply. Then let's go. Journal entry. Notes from 1,000 terrible creatures and why you're not permitted to find them under any circumstances by Lasodia Stiefel. Entry 1. I don't understand the point of this, making notes about an absolutely terrible place no one should ever visit. But I suppose children don't like to hear, don't go there. They need to hear exactly why one shouldn't travel to this terrible place, and that's why I have come here, to find all the reasons why my children or anyone should not travel to this nether. I am here also to keep my companion safe, despite his constant poor jokes and his insistence on giving me a ridiculous name, but he asked for protection. I am here to give it. A lady is nothing if she is not a reliable friend. We arrived, by my estimation, yesterday and immediately encountered three reasons to go straight back home: fire, lava, and gas. Gassed, pronounced gassed. Screaming like a newborn baby is the sound you will hear to alert you to a gas proximity. These 4x4 monstrosities fly around, dangling tendrils beneath them, looking for someone to attack with their fireballs. They're lazy creatures, wanting nothing more than to sit on their couches and wait for their wives to make dinner. I'm kidding. That was my first husband. They reminded me of him, however. Gas simply sit around and use their fireballs, considerable rage to attack from afar. It's rare they will travel to attack, but it can happen. So you can sit around and lazily think you're fine if they're at a distance from you. I hate laziness. They're easy to dispatch. If you can avoid getting hit by their fireballs, their bodies are fragile bags, easy to puncture. with an arrow or even a fish hook. Drops. Why someone would want tears from such a creature, I certainly don't know, but they do drop their own tears, which I know is a trick to make me feel sorry for them, but it will not work. Thank you very much. Oh, and the tears can be used in potions. I suppose they can be useful that way. That wraps up part 3 of Minecraft The Lost Journals and today's chapter. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and if you did, stay tuned, hit that like button, and I will see you next time.